Tonight, do one simple thing before sleep, and you may open a different kind of night, a night in which inner sight is more available, dreams deepen, and the edge of perception becomes an ally instead of a mystery. Find a quiet corner of your bedroom, dim the lights, and give me 10 minutes. Before you close your eyes for the night, try this practice to prime what many mystical traditions and modern seekers call the pineal, an organ often associated with inner vision. If this is calling to you, type one word in the comments now: visible. The exercise I'll teach is framed by a very old lineage. In the libraries of Nag Hammadi, among texts that did not make the later Orthodox canon, there are teachings attributed to Jesus and transmitted through figures like Mary Magdalene that speak of opening a sight beyond ordinary perception. Those writings describe a method of learning to perceive what usually stays at the edges, not to glorify secrecy, but to restore a kind of perceptual sovereignty. In that worldview, there are entities called archontes, beings said by those texts to operate in narrow bands just outside our usual sensorial bandwidth, able to influence or obscure life when they are unseen. To be clear, this is how certain Gnostic texts describe experience and reality, not a universal claim about how everyone will interpret the world. Still, the practical takeaway these authors offer is straightforward. Visibility undermines hidden influence. When something is seen, it stops feeding on the unconscious. We bring that ancient teaching into a contemporary frame by using a modest physiological idea as a working hypothesis. Across many mystical traditions, the small gland at the center of the brain became a symbol, and for some, a focal point of inner sight. Some modern commentators and spiritual practitioners link subjective experiences of inner light and vivid dreaming to changes in how the brain organizes sensory input, and they use the pineal as a shorthand for that capacity. I want to be careful here. This is a framing device, an interpretive overlay to help orient the practice. It is not a medical prescription, and it is not a guaranteed physiological fact that the pineal will activate in some mechanical way tonight. What we can say is that attention changes perception, and changing how you use your eyes and your attention before sleep can change what your nights produce. This practice is intended to prime perceptual filters in the waking moment, so sleep can unfold with a different tonal quality. Here's the core idea. Our visual system does not only focus sharply at the center, it also samples a broad peripheral band. That peripheral field processes a wider, less detailed stream of information: subtle motion, gradations of light and shadow, textures at the edge. Many people live habitually with a narrow, tunnel-like focus that filters out those edge signals. The soft gaze practice gently expands your visual sampling.
Over repeated nights, this gentle recalibration can alter how your brain enters dream states. The accounts I'll describe are anecdotal and varied, but they point to a consistent pattern. A brief, non-straining attention practice before sleep nudges the system toward increased nocturnal vividness, and sometimes toward greater dream lucidity, or a new sensitivity to peripheral phenomena. Think of it as priming the furnace. You do a little tending before night, and then the whole atmosphere of sleep changes. Now for the practice itself. It's simple, safe, and designed to preserve sleep. Set aside 7 to 10 minutes before you intend to sleep. You can sit on the edge of the bed or lie down with your head supported, whatever keeps your neck comfortable. Dim the lights in the room until the space is soft, but not so dark that you cannot see shapes and shadows. The point is low, even light, not total blackout. If you use a small lamp or the glow of your phone screen, reduce its intensity until it feels gentle to the eyes. Open your eyes softly. Do not stare. Allow the focus to relax until everything in front of you becomes just a little blurred. Edges fuse, details soften, and the world appears as a wash of shapes and tonal values. This is the soft gaze. Your eyes are open, but the muscular tension of fixed focus is gone. Now, rather than directing your attention to a single point, expand your awareness to the entire visual field. Let your attention rest on the periphery as much as on the center. Notice movement, fluctuation, the way light pools at the edges. Breathe naturally. Do not try to force images or insights. Your posture should be relaxed. If you feel a tendency to strain, ease back. As you hold this softened attention, set a simple intention. You are priming your inner sight to continue its work through the night. You can say, silently and simply, "May my inner sight be open while I sleep," or choose wording that feels authentic. The intention is small and steady. It is not a demand. Keep your breath even, and allow whatever appears at the edge of vision to remain simply noticed, without immediate commentary. If your mind spins into worry or conviction, return to the soft gaze and the breath. If you feel sleep approaching, let it come. Falling asleep while in this state is not a failure. It is often the point. The practice is to bring the softened peripheral mode of perception into the threshold of sleep. Start with 7 minutes the first night. If you want, increase to 10 minutes on subsequent nights. Repeat nightly for 7 consecutive nights, or for a longer period if the practice resonates. Keep notes. A quick sentence or two after waking can help you notice patterns: more vivid dreams, a sense of being observed differently, fleeting shapes at the edge of vision, increased dream recall, or a sudden lucidity in a dream. These are the kinds of changes people report. None of them are guaranteed. Outcomes vary.
The key metric is your qualitative experience. Do your nights feel different, clearer, or more empowered? A few practical troubleshooting tips. If your eyes want to fix on a particular object, gently release the focus. If the eyelids begin to close, allow them to close. Falling asleep from this soft gaze tends to carry the calm, receptive state into the dream. If you feel anxious or unsettled at any point, stop the practice and do a grounding exercise. Feel the weight of your body on the mattress, touch a cool surface, or breathe with your attention on your feet until calm returns. This practice should not replace medical or psychological care. If you struggle with nightmares, severe anxiety, or sleep disorders, consult a qualified professional. Do not use substances or methods that impair sleep as part of this technique. Finally, avoid bright screens immediately after the practice. Let your nervous system settle. Now, about what people describe seeing and feeling. Across diverse accounts, a recurring set of phenomenon emerges. At the edge of vision, there can be impressions like smoke, static, or shifting membranes, semi-transparent distortions that melt into the background unless observed with relaxed attention. Dream scenes sometimes arrive with unusual clarity, as if a veil has thinned. Some practitioners report increased instances of lucid dreaming, moments in which they realize they are dreaming and can interact with the dream landscape. Others notice a reduced sense of being energetically drained by certain situations, as if an unconscious bleed of attention into fear or unease has lessened, because attention itself has become a shield. These reports share an important behavioral rule. When a presence or distortion is observed consciously, its dynamic often changes. Anecdotal witnesses describe the phenomenon of a peripheral figure or motion losing its intensity or changing course when looked at directly with that calm, observational attention. Within the Gnostic framework, visibility deprives hidden forces of the unconscious feeding they require. In practical terms, learning to watch the edge of your perception with a steady, non-reactive gaze trains your nervous system to remain present rather than scattered, and that shift alone can diminish the experience of being manipulated by unseen currents. Again, this is a report about patterns others have noticed, not a promise that this will happen for everyone. Your mileage will vary. What is reliable is the mechanism. Attention changes what the brain amplifies and what it suppresses. The soft gaze method is a tool to alter attentional habit at the doorway to sleep, and sleep is a powerful time for memory consolidation and for the brain's own recalibrations. If you carry a more receptive, peripheral attention into sleep, you invite different dynamics to unfold. There is a subtle but crucial point about courage and curiosity here. When the edge of perception opens, it can feel disorienting. Shapes may be unfamiliar, and your mind may want to narrate them with fear or dismissal. Practice an observational stance. Name what you notice without reacting. Smoke-like movement, shift of light, a sense of presence. When you treat the phenomenon as information rather than threat, you conserve your emotional energy. Anecdotally, many people find that attention practiced in this way redeploys their inner resources from being emotionally reactive to being observationally sovereign. Over time, that shift supports clearer dreaming and greater nocturnal agency. Let me offer a short example in plain, everyday terms. Imagine Sophie, a teacher who had been prone to fragmented sleep and vague sensations of exhaustion by late afternoon. She began the 7-night sequence: lights down, soft gaze, intention, 7 minutes before bed. By night 3, she remembered a dream with unusual clarity. By night 5, she noticed a faint, smoke-like movement in the corner of the room as she lay awake in the soft gaze state. Not terrifying, but immediately noticeable. She simply acknowledged it, returned to her breath, and intentionally let herself fall asleep. The next morning, she recorded a lucid fragment.
She realized mid-dream that she was dreaming and gently redirected the scene away from anxiety toward a calm water image. Sophie's experience is one pattern among many: increased dream recall, occasional dream lucidity, and a new sense of ownership over how attention moves. Again, this is an anecdote, not a guaranteed trajectory. A question often comes up: why bring the practice into the hour before sleep instead of earlier? 2 reasons. First, the moments before sleep are a threshold where waking attention naturally bleeds into the dream system. Small shifts here are magnified overnight through consolidation and unintended rehearsal. Second, sleep is a reparative state in which the nervous system reorganizes. Priming perception at the threshold increases the likelihood that the change will be integrated. That's why the practice is intentionally short and sleep-friendly. It encourages restfulness rather than prolonged arousal. Now a few practical clarifications so you can do this safely and effectively. Keep the practice brief, do not force images or sensations, avoid bright lights immediately after, and maintain good sleep hygiene overall. This is not an experiment in seeking thrills. It is a quiet, responsible recalibration of attention with the aim of increasing nocturnal clarity and personal sovereignty. If at any point the practice provokes anxiety, cease and pursue grounding steps or seek guidance from a counselor. There is no value in pushing through distress for the sake of a spiritual experiment. There is also a broader interpretive frame worth pausing on.
The Gnostic text we referenced, including passages from the Gospel of Mary and other Nag Hammadi manuscripts, emerged in diverse early Christian context where different groups were exploring the inner life and its relation to the visible world. Those texts discuss beings and forces that are, in their terms, part of a metaphysical economy. We can take their language either as literal metaphysics or as symbolic psychology. Either way, their insistence that making the hidden visible is liberatory remains useful. Whether one believes in archontes as literal external intelligences or reads them as metaphors for psychological patterns, the practical prescription is the same. Reclaim your attention, observe what operates at the edges, and remove the unconscious indebtedness that fuels reactivity. If you do this practice for a week, pay attention to 3 things. First, dream recall. Are your dreams becoming more vivid or easier to remember? Second, lucidity. Do you find moment of recognition within the dream? Third, waking edge sensitivity. Do you notice less unease or a different relationship to subtle drain in relationships or environments? These are personal metrics, and small changes are meaningful. Keep a simple journal, a sentence upon waking, to track progress. It's worth reiterating the limits and the promises. This practice may prime the pineal as a symbol for inner sight, and may, anecdotally, help your nights change. It does not guarantee miraculous sightings, nor does it promise medical benefits. It is a humble, repeatable habit, a gentle way to reshaping attention at the point where waking becomes sleeping. For those interested in the historical angle, treat the Gnostic testimony as one lineage among many that valued inner sight. For those who prefer a secular reading, see the exercise as attention training that can alter dream phenomenology. Both readings are valid as frameworks for practice. If you decide to begin tonight, here is a short checklist you can follow. Dim the lights, choose a comfortable posture, open your eyes softly and let focus blur. Expand attention to the periphery. Breathe naturally. Hold the soft gaze for 7 to 10 minutes. Set a simple intention for inner sight to continue through sleep. Allow sleep to come as it will. Repeat nightly for 7 days. Record any changes. That's it. No substances, no long vigil, no dramatic confrontation. Gentle attention repeated. Before we close, I want to emphasize one more thing about agency. The heart of this method is not to produce fear or to busily hunt for strange phenomena. It's to reclaim the space of attention that we often give away to habit. Whether you interpret the subtle forms you noticed as literal beings, as energetic patterns, or as neural phenomena, the skill you cultivate is the same: steady, non-reactive attention that can hold what appears without immediately feeding it with fear or drama. In doing so, you build a quiet sovereignty that changes the texture of your nights and, quietly, the way you meet morning. Try it tonight. Start with 7 minutes. Keep it gentle. If this practice resonates, type visible in the comments so we can see who's doing it with us. If you'd like a simple 1-page checklist to pin beside your bed, check the description. There's a free PDF with a 7-step sequence and a space for nightly notes.
Subscribe for more practical sequences that blend ancient testimony with everyday attention work. May your nights become a place of clearer witness, and may the small habit of a softened gaze restore an inner freedom that carries through your days. If anything feels unsettling or overwhelming, stop and seek support. Otherwise, bless the experiment with curiosity and patience, and let the threshold of sleep become a doorway rather than a blur. Thank you for trying this tonight.